Good afternoon. I'm not sure where you are from, so I guess have a good day. It's better. I'm Anastasia and I will be your host, but we still have some time before to start, so let's wait patiently. And remember to have, during the presentation, to have your microphones muted, so there will be a better reception for you guys. Right now, I'm going to give my voice over to Andreas. Andreas, are you ready?
I am ready, indeed.
So I hope that that the quick and short presentation about what we do as a company was helpful for you. And now for the main event, Andreas, I'm giving the rest to you. Your microphone is muted.
So that's better now.
Yes.
And I would like to share my screen. I am Andreas Grabitz. Please, if you have any questions to me, just say Andy. I think it's easier for most of you than to pronounce Andreas. That's a bit complicated. I'm Andy. I'm working for Eurofins since 2005, so since roughly 16 years now. I've been involved in different functions within Eurofins, and since 2018, so around 2 years now, I'm heading the Department of Packaging Materials in Hamburg. So I'm located in the northern part of Germany. Of printing companies also on board of today's training. I also would like to explain a bit what about printing inks. So the inks itself and also the printed materials. If you supply a printed bottle or a printed cardboard, how to ensure that this is safe. Actually, you remember from the introduction that we don't have a legislation on printing ink in Europe. In 2013, so this is already 7 years ago, in 2013, the Germans in Germany, we started, or our government started to prepare a German ink regulation, or what they called an Ink Ordinance. Actually, this Ink Ordinance took quite a while until 2018. So they worked for 5 years on the printing ink ordinance, on a German one. So this is a national law which would be in place only in Germany. In 2018, Germany notified this national law to the European Commission. They said, here, EU Commission, we have a national law, we have a German legislation for printing ink. What do you say? And actually the Commission said, ooh, we are not really happy. Because if you have a national legislation in Germany, what about France and what about Spain and what about Italy? So it will disturb the internal market. So if you have a legislation there, but they don't have, then this is a contradiction for the free market within the EU. Therefore, the EU asked Germany to postpone their German printing ink legislation. They did so they postponed it for 2 years. And a couple of weeks ago, this is probably 2.5 months, the German government re-implemented the national legislation, the National Printing Ink Ordinance. And we believe that in the first half of 2021, we will have a German legislation for printing inks. We are very keen to see what will happen. Actually, the most important one, the most famous one, and also the most comprehensive legislation for printing inks is in place in Switzerland. So this is really the only legislation worldwide which covers exclusively printing inks. This is available here on this website, also in English. So you can easily download it here. And I think most of you have seen already something like that. This is a list of substances which are allowed to be used in printing inks. A very, very long list. There are more than 5,000 substances in. And a lot of big brand owners like Nestle, like Danone, or like Unilever, and also the huge retailers like Carrefour or Aldi, they demand that any printed material needs to comply with the Swiss Printing Ink Ordinance, fully independent whether the product is intended for the Swiss market or not. They say we have a legislation in one country, and therefore we require that the printing ink is in compliance with this legislation. What you can see here are substances, chemicals, which are used for printing inks. And here you see for which is this intended. Is this a monomer? Is this a colorant? Is this a solvent, an additive, or a photoinitiator? And then we see here a party. Is this listed in party A? Then it is an evaluated substance. We know about the toxicity, and we sometimes have a specific migration limit here. And for others, like the lactic acid, sorbitol, it is party A, so it is evaluated, but we don't have a limit. So no problem with the toxicity. And then we have substances which are in party B. And to be honest, this is the vast majority. The very, very most of the substances are listed in party B. From the more than 5,000 substances in the Annex 10 of the Ink Ordinance, more than 4,000 are in Annex B, in this party B, meaning they have a restriction of 10 ppb. They must not migrate at all. So that's the basic idea of the Swiss Printing Ink Ordinance. We have thousands of substances which are listed, which can be used, some with specific migration limits, some in party B, which says, okay, you can use them, but it is not allowed that they migrate into food. That's the basic principle of these of the Swiss Printing Ink Ordinance. Furthermore, especially in Europe, we have a very, very large and very active industry organization, which is called EuPIA. EuPIA is the European Printing Ink Association. This is an industry organization in which more or less all ink suppliers, ink manufacturers are organized. And they have issued a series of rather nice documents in terms of quality assurance, good manufacturing practice for printing inks and also for printed food contact materials. The one is a GMP guideline. A GMP guideline is available on the EuPIA website, and the GMP guideline gives a good introduction, a good overview how to live, how to really establish a good manufacturing practice in your company, starting from the factory requirements, from the hygiene requirements, management requisites, quality assurance system, complaint management, and so on. So this is really, really a valuable and helpful document to assure a good manufacturing process in your company. Oh, I can hear a question, but I can barely understand you. I'm sorry.
नहीं, देखें, दो चीजें हैं, पॉसिबिलिटी है रजा साहब जो आप कह रहे हैं ना वो भी हो जाए। मैं आपको वो बता रही हूँ जो जिसके लिए उसे लाया गया था, ठीक है? मेरे सुनने में यही बात है, लेकिन अगर उसको बनाए ना सिर्फ प्रोडक्शन का हेड, तो फिर आप लोग बोल सकते हैं और आपको बोलना चाहिए।
Vivo, if you talk internally, can you please mute your microphone, please? Or if this is a question, please again. Okay, that's not the case. Okay, so if we want to assess, if we want to test a printed material, a printing ink itself, what we usually ask our suppliers or the suppliers of the printing ink, the ink manufacturer, what we ask them to provide is such a statement of composition, which you can see here. A statement of composition in which the suppliers confirms that the printing ink is manufactured according to the framework regulation, which we have learned earlier today, that it should not endanger human health, should not bring about an unacceptable change in the composition, and should not bring about a deterioration in organoleptics. You remember, this was the smell and the taste of the food. So this is what they confirm. And then they usually give us a statement of composition in which all of the ingredients, all of the chemicals used for the printing inks in which they are listed. And then we see here, is there a restriction in place?
Brigitte?
Hello? Okay, no question. Is there a restriction in place or not? They often give us the information, what is the weight in dry weight percent? How much is the limit, the calculated, and do we have a risk assessment? So from this statement of composition, from this list of chemicals, we can establish a test protocol. Which substances do we need to analyze to ensure that your printed product is compliant with the Swiss Printing Ink Ordinance, and based on that, that it is also compliant with the Framework Regulation 1935 from 2004. Sometimes we also get something like that. This is very, very comparable. We have some chemicals, we have some CAS numbers and the specific migration limit to that. But we also get sometimes issues like that, where we only have the brand names. That's okay. That's fine for us. We can work with that. And last but not least, we also need to take care about the primary aromatic amines from the pigments. That's a very, very important point, especially when it comes to the plastic regulation. Let me explain. So the primary aromatic amines, they are released by the pigments in the inks, especially by the red and by the yellow pigments. And of course, if you mix red and yellow, you get orange. And if you mix yellow and blue, you get green. So also the green colorants are concerned. So green, red, yellow, and orange. These are the relevant colors which can release primary aromatic amines. The Swiss Printing Ink Ordinance has a limit of 0.01 of 10 ppb, because the primary aromatic amines are carcinogens. It is known that they can cause cancer, and therefore we have very, very low limits. At the moment, we also have a limit of 10 ppb in the European plastic regulation. But we have seen a new amendment 4 weeks ago. This is still in the transitional period until March of next year. But as from next year in March, we will have a lower limit for primary aromatic amines, which are carcinogens, CMR, of 2 ppb. So it is a factor of 5 lower than we have it at the moment. So that's really, really an important issue, which we in any case need to consider. This 2 ppb limit is already established for master batches, which we use to color a plastic. And here we have already a 2 ppb level in the BFR recommendation, which is addressing these materials. And here you see the CLP carcinogens class 1A and 1B. So these are proven carcinogens in animals and in human beings. And for these substances, we have here already a limit of 2 ppb. And this will come also into place for plastic materials and for printed plastic materials as from March of next year. Okay, so that's it for the European part. So the plastic regulation, the GMP regulation, the framework regulation, and also the issues about the printing inks. We have